Hello guys and welcome for another New World video. Today the focus will be on the classic mage variation, and of course that's the Fire Staff and Ice Gauntlet. As we all know, fire and ice are the face for any mage out there, and both weapons are exclusively scaling from intelligence, which makes them the perfect fit for each other. Of course, that's not the only reason why they are such a perfect pair, so let's go over the playstyle so we can find out. Everyone who played PvP in New World is aware that the Fire Staff has insane amount of damage and a lot of burst potential, but on the other side it's lacking a lot of crowd control and debuffs. On the other hand, Ice Gauntlet is one of the most controlling weapons in terms of crowd control, and at the same time it provides amazing defense as a bonus. This gives the Fire Staff users the ability to apply pressure and when in trouble to get away fast and clean from trouble without losing their lives. The build that we will see today is a main Fire Ice build, which is mainly used in war environment. However, you can also use it in OPRs, but keep in mind that this build loses its value in a lower scale PvP such as Arena or 1v1. The main reason for that is the nature of the build and the positioning while fighting. So let's take a quick look over the playstyle during a war and see what is the core idea of the build. As we know, in a war there is 10 groups of 5 players in each group. This means that apart from the healer in your group, you will most likely have 3 other teammates, and 2 of them will be melee players with another DPS that could also be a Fire Staff user. In that scenario, your goal is to maintain close contact with your melee players, but also trying to keep distance from the enemy's front line and of course their ranged users, which will aim at you and your healer. Your main goal in a perfect scenario is to always apply high damage to the people who are getting targeted and staggered by your frontline melee players. Of course, they should also prioritize easier targets to kill, which could be another light users or healers. Definitely not tanks, and that's why it's always needed to be in comms when it comes to wars. Good assistance to make that work would be the Ice Gauntlet artifact Deep Freeze, as it will boost your damage by 15% while the enemies are affected by ice effects. These effects can be also applied by your teammates, which makes it great, and that's why this build is definitely more worth it to be played in a war instead of a 1v1 or 3v3 arenas. I'm pretty sure that the playstyle of a StatPath mage is known to everyone, so I don't think there is much need of going into further details. That's why we're gonna move to the next section of the video, which will be for the skill trees of both weapons. On the Fire Staff side, we would like to have the 3 core damage abilities, which are the Pillar of Fire, Meteor Shower, and of course Fireball. Those 3 abilities will provide you with the best damage possible, and you will be able to melt down people as long as you are free to do so. Note that in this case you are losing your burnout, which is typically the only escape tool of the Fire Staff users. For passives, you would want to have almost all the left side ones, as they will give you a lot of cooldown reduction, mana management, alongside with critical chance, critical damage, and of course empower. From the right side of the tree, you only need some of the passives, which will add a bit of damage and of course prolonging your burning effects. Now let's take a look on the Ice Gauntlet skill tree and let's see what are the core abilities with the passives to it. From the left side, we would want to have only the Storm ability with all of the passives to it, so we can maximize the potential of the ability itself. The passives from the left side will have to be the Critical Rejuvenation for better mana management, Critical Frost for even higher critical chance, and of course the Heavy Freeze for potential root on target. The other 3 passives are not worth taking, as their bonus is almost impossible to achieve. On the right side of the tree, we will invest a little bit more points. The reason for that is the core of the right side tree being an amazing defensive tool. As we said, the Ice Gauntlet is mainly used with defense purpose, so this is our aim as well. Abilities will be the Shower and of course Entomb, alongside all the passives except the Frozen Touch. Now, as we know all the abilities needed for the build, we must take a quick look over the gear and the necessary perks in order to make it work and to achieve good results. The core weapon perks for that build are the Refreshing Pillar of Fire, Empowering Fireball, Empowering Meteor Shower, and Unending Toe. Optional perks can also be Healing Tomb and Deadly Frost, but they are not needed that much. The Fire Staff perks should be placed on your armor so you can save yourself 3 slots for offensive perks in your weapon. The Unending Toe, however, can be placed on the Ice Gauntlet as it will be an offhand weapon and we don't expect any damage from it. My personal favorite in light gear for all my armor pieces is Health. As it gives you the highest value in the weight class, this is the best perk to use as a defensive tool. Second to the health, I prefer to have Enchanted Ward or Elemental Aversion as they both give you flat protection from enemies' attacks. If you are lucky to find yourself with a piece with both health and Enchanted Ward or Elemental Aversion and you don't need another weapon perk, you can also opt for different conditions, which could be Trust or Fire conditioning. Overall, my armor pieces are with 5 health perks, 4 Enchanted Ward perks, 1 Elemental Aversion, 2 Refreshing, and of course the 3 weapon perks that I've mentioned. For the weapons, as I said earlier, you need the Ice Gauntlet artifact, which is Deep Freeze, with the Unending Toe perk on it. For Fire Staff, you have 2 great options. The first one is of course the Flint Stick, which is dropping from the PvP track. It will give you Vicious and Alacritus punishment, and you can choose the third perk by going into Keen or Play Crits. Another great Fire Staff is the Commandant Fire Staff, which drops from OPR crates. Comes with Keen and Play Crits and give you the option to choose the third perk, which you can slot Vicious or Alacritus punishment. If you wonder why Keen is slotted on the Fire Staff, the short answer to it is mana management. As you now need a critical hit in order to receive back mana, you need a lot of critical chance to make it work. Since it's not worth it to run mana potions in a war, but instead to run some kind of protection, mana management is key to maintain good damage. For jewelries, my personal choice is the Champion's Amulet with Shirking in Power, Health and a Protection. I tend to play with Fire Protection, but I also change from time to time with Trust Protection, depending of course on my enemies. On my ring I go with Hearty, Keen and Refreshing, and for earring I play with Endless Thirst with last perk on it, Refreshing, so I can have the 4 out of 4 cooldown reduction. It is not worth it to go for fire damage on your ring due to the fact that you reach in power cap even without those 7%, and also, like I already mentioned, the high critical chance is really needed so you can keep your mana above 50%. Last but not least, the attributes that I'm using for this build are the following. I go with 50 strength for extra damage on all heavy attacks, 25 dexterity for extra critical chance, 25 focus for extra 5% cooldown, 150 constitution so I can get the 10% damage mitigation, and of course everything else is slotted into intelligence. Depending on your gear score and food, the intelligence points may vary. They should always be around 420 or so, but you can even reach higher. Please note that these attribute points cannot be achieved with any other artifact than the Attune Leather Pants. So if you are playing with something else as an artifact on your armor, your points will definitely be looking different. And with that guys, I think it's safe to say that now you know the basics for the Fire Ice stat pad build, which is used by many in wars and OPRs. Have in mind that this build is extremely strong, but only in a group scenario, as it's not even close to be good in a 1v1 or 3v3. As always guys, let me know what you think about it and if you have any other questions. I will be happy to answer all your questions, and if you want to see more builds like this and anything related to New World, make sure to follow the channel and join my Discord community server. You can also catch me live during one of my live streams, which are from Wednesday to Sunday starting at 6 PM. Thank you guys so much for watching. and I will see you on the next one.